10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff of Viasat 3. Go Viasat, go Falcon Heavy.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
We are 30 seconds into flight under the power of 5 million pounds of thrust. Falcon Heavy is headed to space. Now we are throttling down our engines on those side boosters, and that's in preparation for max Q.
Power into telemetry nominal.
Max Q is the moment of peak mechanical stress.
Falcon Heavy is supersonic.
Peak mechanical stress on the vehicle. So we do slow down the vehicle to get through this period of high stress. And once we pass through max Q, we will throttle those engines back up on those side boosters.
Max Q.
And great call out, we have passed through max Q. So we're gonna throttle up those engines again on these side boosters. You can follow along the telemetry on your left hand, on the bottom left hand of your screen. You can see the speed and the altitude of the vehicle, and some incredible views of Falcon Heavy in flight. Now, 2 minutes into flight, we will reduce the thrust on the two side boosters again, and that will be to decrease the forces on the vehicle structure. And that's because the vehicle is now lighter as we're burning through the fuel on the vehicle, but the thrust will remain constant. And wow, that looks amazing on the screen, all three boosters burning bright there.
Falcon Heavy is following a nominal trajectory.
And good call out on trajectory. Now again, we're gonna throttle down the side boosters, and then the next event coming up in about a minute, or just under a minute, will be BECO. That's booster engine cutoff. That's where we will shut down the engines on the side boosters, and then we will separate the side boosters from the center core. And as a reminder, we are not landing our side boosters or center core today due to performance needed on today's mission. And you can see on your right-hand screen, we do have a view of the separation mechanisms from the center core to the side boosters. And BECO, or booster engine cutoff, is coming up here in a few seconds.
MVAC engine chill has started. Booster engine cutoff.
Side booster separation confirmed. Both side boosters, FTS has safed.
Great views there. We had BECO, booster engine cutoff, and we watched as those side boosters, and you could see them there on your screen, those side boosters falling
Vehicle
away.
is following a nominal trajectory.
Falling away from Falcon Heavy's center core. Awesome views. That's gonna wrap it up for the side boosters today. The next event coming up here in about 30 seconds or so is main engine cutoff. That is also called MECO, and that will be on the center core, followed by stage separation and then the startup of our second stage engine.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed. Stage 1 FTS has safed.
MVAC ignition. Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
And we got some great views. We watched MECO as the engines on the center core shut down, stage separation, and now you can see on your screen that the MVAC engine has ignited. Now we are coming up on fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
The ViSat payload deploying shortly is now the largest all-electric satellite ever to be launched.
Viasat 3, separation confirmed.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of Starlink 5-6. Go Starlink, go Falcon.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
At T plus 30 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral, Florida at 3:31 a.m. Pacific Eastern Time. The next major milestone coming up is max Q, which is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of external stresses as it descends through the Earth's atmosphere during its flight today.
MOD chamber pressures are nominal. Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Falcon 9 is now supersonic, meaning it is traveling faster than the speed of sound. And coming up next, we will be hearing the call out for max Q.
Max Q.
And there was the call out for max Q, which again is when the vehicle experiences its largest amount of external stresses. And we are about 1 minute away from a series of events, being MECO, stage separation, SCS-1, and then fairing separation. MECO stands for main engine cutoff, which is when all 9 Merlin engines will shut down in preparation for stage separation. And during stage separation, the first and second stages will separate from each other. The first stage will begin its journey back to Earth, while the second stage will light its Merlin vacuum engine to propel our Starlink satellites to their planned orbits. Let's keep an eye out for these events happening in pretty quick succession. And you can expect those to start in about 20 seconds.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back ignition.
And as you just saw and heard over the nets, we had successful MECO, stage sep, and SCS-1. We're now coming up on fairing separation for from the second stage, just a few seconds.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there's confirmation that the stage 1 landing burn has started in preparation for touchdown on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. We can now see our drone ship.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
And this Falcon 9 first stage has now successfully launched and landed for the 7th time. We are now coming up on second engine cutoff.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff of Starlink. Go Starlink, go Falcon.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4 East at 1:09 p.m. Pacific Time.
Power and telemetry are nominal.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And as you just heard, Falcon 9 is now supersonic, meaning that it is traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And you just heard the call out for max Q, and this means that the vehicle is currently experiencing the greatest amount of external stresses as it ascends through the Earth's atmosphere that it will see during its flight today. And we are about 1 minute away from a series of events being MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and fairing separation. MECO stands for main engine cutoff, which is when all 9 Merlin engines will shut down in preparation for stage separation. And during that point, pneumatic pushers will separate the first and second stages, and the first stage will begin its journey back to Earth, while the second stage will light its Merlin vacuum engine, making second engine start 1 to propel our Starlink satellites to their planned orbits. And shortly after, the fairing halves will separate and fall away from the vehicle to later be recovered. And let's keep an eye out for these events happening in pretty quick succession, about 15 seconds from now.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And with those callouts, we can confirm MECO, stage sep, SES-1, and fairing separation.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there's confirmation that the stage 1 landing burn has started in preparation for landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is coming into view.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
MVAC shutdown.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
At T plus 35 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 from Cape Canaveral, Florida at 1:03 a.m. Eastern Time. The next major milestone coming up is max Q,
Power and telemetry nominal.
which is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of external stresses as it ascends through the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicle supersonic.
With that call out, we hear that Falcon 9 is traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
There's that call out for max Q, which again is the period where the rocket experiences the largest amount of external stresses. We're just about 1 minute away from a series of events that are going to happen back to back. Those are going to be main engine cutoff, stage separation, second engine start 1, and then fairing separation. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage shut down. Those are what you can see glowing on your screen right now. Stage separation is when the first and second stages separate from each other. Second engine start 1, or SES1, as you'll hear it called on the nets, is where we light the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage for the first time. Fairing separation is when the two fairing halves separate and fall away from the second stage on their way back to Earth. Let's keep an eye out for those events happening back to back in just about 10 seconds.
Stage separation.
Back ignition.
As you just saw and heard over the nets, we've had successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and the ignition of our
Fairing
MVAC
separation.
engine on the second stage.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's confirmation that the Stage 1 landing burn has started in preparation for touchdown on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
M1D chamber pressure nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
At T plus 30 seconds, F9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral, Florida at 1:31 a.m. Eastern Time. The next major milestone coming up is max Q, which is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of external stress as it ascends through the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicles supersonic.
You just heard that Falcon 9 is now supersonic, which means it's traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And there's that call out for max Q, which again is when the rocket experiences the largest amount of external stress. So now we're about 1 minute away from a series of back-to-back events: MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, SES1, or second engine start 1, and then fairing separation. MECO, or main engine cutoff, is where all 9 of the Merlin engines on the first stage shut down. And then stage separation is when the first and second stages separate from one another. SES1, or second engine start 1, is where we light the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. And then fairing separation is when the two fairing halves separate and fall away from the second stage. So let's keep an eye out, as these events are going to happen in quick succession.
Stage separation confirmed.
And as you just saw and heard partially over the nets, we had successful MECO, stage separation, and SES1. And we're coming up on fairing separation from the second stage in just a few seconds.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Stage
Stage
1
2
landing burn.
internal guidance.
And there's confirmation that the stage 1 landing burn has started in preparation for touchdown on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
This Falcon 9 first stage has now successfully launched and landed for the 5th time. And now we're coming up on second engine cutoff.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full power. Liftoff of the Reed OneWeb.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Successful liftoff of Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 4 East at the Vandenberg Space Force Base. We're carrying the Iridium OneWeb satellites into orbit. We've begun gimbaling the engines on the first stage. Gimbaling is really just tilting the engines.
Telemetry nominal.
We've begun what's called a gravity turn. So we're letting gravity help pull the rocket to go sideways. We need to be going fast horizontally to get into orbit. We actually just got through the throttle bucket.
Vehicle supersonic.
Throttle bucket being where we've throttled down the Merlin 1D engines in preparation for max Q. That's the point of highest stresses on the vehicle.
Max Q.
Fantastic views from this ground tracking cam. Nice to be out of the Vandenberg fog. Now, a rocket needs to go about 17,500 miles an hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth. And if it does get to that velocity, that's what we say that's what we mean when we say we're getting to orbit. So we're continuing to accelerate on the first stage. Call out there of MVAC chill. And that's for the next several events we've got coming up. The first of those is main engine cutoff, where we'll shut down these 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. That'll be followed by stage separation, where the first and second stages will separate from each other. The Merlin vacuum on the second stage will ignite at SES-1. And then we will have the fairing halves separate shortly after that around the T+3 minute mark. So again, those events back to back: MECO, stage sep, SES-1, and then shortly after, fairing separation.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there are great views of that shortened MVAC nozzle. Right-hand side of your screen is the second stage. Left-hand side of your screen is the first stage. We've begun deploying the hypersonic grid fins on the first stage. Those are those structures that are popping into view right now. Next major milestone will be a fairing deployment. If you keep a close eye out, you might even see those fairings behind the second stage as they trail away.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Now, during the landing burn, we light just a single center Merlin engine, followed shortly after by landing leg deploy, and then hopefully a soft touchdown on the drone ship.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Pretty fun coming in through the clouds here off the California coast.
Stage 1 landing like deploy.
MVAC shutdown.
Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Okay, a lot of things happened there, but I see a successful landing
Nominal orbit insertion.
of our
That's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff, Falcon 9. Go Axiom.
Stage 1 Alpha.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Together we expand what is possible in low Earth orbit. Add Astra and Godspeed AX2.
Plus 30 seconds into this historic. T plus 36 seconds into flight. A great view of Falcon 9 heading to space.
Power and telemetry is nominal.
Stage 1 throttle down. Power telemetry nominal. We're into the throttle bucket. The first stage is throttle down power on the Merlin engines in preparation for max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Faster than the speed of sound as we're getting great views from the first stage camera looking back at Kennedy Space Center Complex 39A.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Max Q.
We're out of the throttle bucket.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
We're at full power, and that call out 1 Bravo, that's another one of those abort modes. As we get higher and faster, the logic for Dragon, should a contingency occur, changes from stage to stage.
Impact chill is underway.
Chill announcement says we're getting the turbo pump on the second stage engine cooled down in preparation for its light up coming up in just another minute from now. Again, great views looking back, and you can see the contrail as we left 39A in the shadow of the contrail against the cloud deck around Florida. And we're coming up 3 big sequences and a view live of the crew inside Dragon. They're getting ready. We're going to get 3 events here. Main engine cutoff, stage separation, and then we're going to light the second stage engine. We've heard the throttle down in preparation for stage separation.
Nico.
2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
Z1.
Stage 1, transonic.
That booster is now traveling near the speed of sound. Live view coming to you from one of our tracking cameras. We can see the grid fins actuating to help steer the booster down.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Standing by to...
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
There you
Stage
can
1 landing confirmed.
You can see that first stage has landed back at LZ1. This is the first time that we have performed a land landing on a crew mission.
Dragon separation
And
confirmed.
there you can see live on your screen that Dragon shrunken capsule.
Yeah, we copy you. And it's up.
That's a really cool view. That's actually
SpaceX launch director. A very great flight. Wish you safe travels. And a few words from our chief engineer as well.
Thanks for putting your trust in the Falcon 9 team. Hope you enjoyed the ride to space. Have a great trip on Dragon. Welcome home to 0G, Peggy.
That was SpaceX Chief Engineer Bill
Happy to be
Gerstenmaier.
here. It was a phenomenal ride.
Make sure you share the joy of 0G with your crew.
We will do that.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Go Falcon, go AirSat.
Vehicle pitching downrange. Stage 1 engine chambers, pressures are nominal.
Moving through the clouds there, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from pad 40. Coming up next, we'll throttle down the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage to prepare for max Q at about T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Vehicles on the right track. Now, as you may already know, max Q is the period of flight with the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures, so it's one of the critical flight milestones we're tracking. Again, we expect that here in just about 10 seconds. And with that call out, we hear that Falcon 9 is moving faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
With that call out, we now have 3 events coming up in quick succession. So I'm going to talk through all of them right now. We'll start with MECO, followed by stage SEP, and then SES-1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 M1D engines shut down on the first stage to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the next event,
has started.
which is stage separation, or stage SEP for short. That's where the first stage separates from the second. Right after stage SEP, the first stage will start its journey back to Earth for landing on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. During that time, stage 2 will continue on its journey to space with a third event in this sequence, second engine start 1, or SES-1. This is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with the Arabsat payload to orbit. Right after these three major events, the fairing halves will separate less than a minute after SES-1, so keep an eye out for that too. And again, all of these events are going to start here in just about 10 seconds.
And MECO.
Stage separation.
With that, we have confirmation of main engine cutoff, stage separation, and you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen, second engine start 1. While the first stage burn is in progress, we are expecting second stage burn is in progress, we are expecting fairing deployment as well.
Fairing separation.
Wow, great view of fairing separation there on the right-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There we've got the call out for second engine cutoff 1 and nominal orbit insertion on our second stage. Right now we are watching
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
There you just saw a successful 14th landing for this particular booster, which also marks our 195th overall successful recovery of an orbital class rocket.
Payload separation confirmed.
There's that gorgeous view on your screen there of the successful deployment of the Arabsat Beta 8 payload. With that confirmation, we'll bring today's webcast to a close. We want to thank our customer Arabsat for entrusting us with today's mission and all of you for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Engines full power. And liftoff of Starlink 2-10. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
At T plus 33 seconds, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California at 11:02 p.m. Pacific Time. The next major milestone coming up is Max Q.
Power and telemetry is nominal.
Max Q is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of external stress as it ascends through the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's the confirmation that Stage 1 landing burn has started in preparation for touchdown on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you. You should hear the call out for second engine cutoff in just a few seconds.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
This Falcon 9 first stage.
Touchdown.
The Falcon 9 first stage has now successfully launched and landed for the 14th time. And just after landing, we did hear the call out for second engine cutoff 1.
Orbit insertion.
And there's the call out for a nominal orbit insertion.